So I told you about the day my Bronco went up in flames, and I told you where I was at basically, but this video I want to dedicate to when I started my project up until what you're going to see in the videos. The evening of the Bronco fire, I was already working on it. All the flaky paint that was burned off but didn't come off, I went at it with some rags just to get all the excess stuff. I blew it off with the air hose and all, and I clear coated the entire body. Yeah, so I clear coated the body and I put a tarp over it. Now, what's funny is I love the truck to death, just like my grandfather, and I always took good care of it, and it seems like nothing even changed when it went up in flames. It was still my it was my baby. It was my grandfather's baby, and it became my baby when it became my vehicle, and I took very good care of it. And I couldn't just let that go. So yeah, the day it went up in flames, I started preparing the body, and I clear coated it, and I cleaned up a few other things. A few days after that, I had towed it in front of my bay. From there was almost a year of working on it. Basically what happened was me and my brother, we cut the back roof off of it. I think before that I ended up getting everything that was burnt and melted inside of it out, all the debris. So I cleaned the truck out. Once I did that, I painted, prepped the surfaces inside, and clear coated them. So where there wasn't paint on a surface, there was clear coat, so nothing would really rust. Did I get everywheres? No, there's going to be some rust, but I'm okay with that. I ended up taking the body off the chassis. My grandfather and my dad helped me do that. From there, I removed the motor and basically the drivetrain besides the rear. So I removed all that. The front end was so ruined because of the heat and everything melting that the shocks didn't even have their tension anymore. So the wheels would lock up if you tried rolling the chassis. So my grandfather ended up towing that back behind the garage. Another couple months went by of the body just sitting in front of my garage here. Me and my cousin did some little bit of work and stuff to it. We cut the front structure, the support, the radiator support and all. We cut that out of the front of the Bronco. And because if you just had the doors and the firewall, it was kind of ugly. So what I did was I ran some tape and I cut the fenders. So there's pieces of fender on the body, but it makes it look nicer. It covers up that ugly portion of the firewall. As far as the motor and transmission, I haven't done anything with that. I've just dragged it out back. I do want to go through it. I have a suspicion that what caused this fire was a slipping timing chain, or maybe the gears broke or whatever. I have a suspicion that it was one of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at that when I take it apart. And I do want to take apart the motor because I want to use the piston rods and everything for decoration on this rat rod. So it'll be pretty cool. I'm using parts from the Bronco. I'm also adding new stuff, which begins the next chapter of this build. The body's been sitting a while. It's been up off the ground. It's gathering some sort of rust. Nothing too bad to where I can't use. But I always joke and I tell people it's like a steak. It's marinating right now. Earlier this year, around January, my grandfather passed away, and that mourning his loss, and just a week before I had to put my dog down. So mourning since then, I just turned that into motivation to make this rat rod a possibility. Not just a thought, but doing something along the lines where, hey, this is actually gonna happen. taking care of the body was one thing, but actually creating a chassis to put it on was another. So out back for years, since like 2004, 2005, I have had a 1979 Chrysler LeBaron. It's a sport roof car. It doesn't have a vinyl top like the other LeBarons that year. It's just a solid painted roof. It was a nice car, and that's the reason I got it. It was my first car, and it was okay for a while, but I never got it on the road. I got it when I was younger, so I was never legal to be on the road with it, and it wouldn't have made it anyway because that thing had a lot of problems with it. So I knew I needed some sort of a chassis for the Bronco, and for the longest time I was just like, okay, all my attention's to this body, I need to find a chassis to put it on. I never thought to use the chassis of the Bronco because I knew the front end was totally it was a loss. So I got the brainstorming, and I was looking at my LeBaron, my 79 LeBaron. I was like, you know what? I could use this subframe and somehow make rails to attach to the Bronco chassis and use this front end. So I started planning, and I ended up doing just that. I brought my LeBaron up, I stripped everything out of it, and I also decided, hey, I'm going to use more than just the front end. I have all the wiring. I have a 318 with a 727 transmission. Why not just use everything? So I dedicated a good amount of time. I got all the wiring's back there on a cart. I went through, got every piece of wiring. I labeled everything. If something connected to another thing, I'd label each side so I knew exactly where they go when I put them in the Bronco project. I have the steering wheel. I grabbed everything that I would possibly think I would need. But the interesting problem that I was dealt with was the motor and trans can't be pulled out of the car because when they build them from factory, the motor and trans is attached to the front end of the LeBaron, and it's lifted up underneath because it's a unibody car. So what I ended up doing is the car was so far gone, it had so much rust I didn't even know. And when I first started the project, I felt so bad that I was going to basically destroy my first car, but I later realized getting into everything, and when I took up the carpet, there was so much rust that the car was basically bending in the middle. So much so that the driver's side door stopped opening and closing because everything was just pinching. But so I decided I'll just hack at the rails of the front end and get everything out like that, and that's exactly what I did. So I'd gotten my front end, and I went and got metal, which is actually the first thing I've bought for this project was metal. I started measuring, I started mocking things up with the 318, the transmission. I did some measurements from the body. Luckily, the body mounts were still on the chassis that I have from the Bronco, which I ended up hacking the front end of the Bronco chassis off so I could use the LeBaron front end. And I was originally going to just have the motor sitting on the cradle of the LeBaron front end when I attached it to the Bronco chassis, but a funny thing is I like to Photoshop my ideas because it's one thing that I can see them up here, but I like to put them on the screen or on paper or draw them or whatever and design stuff so other people can see what I'm going for, what I'm thinking. And I actually Photoshopped my idea of the Bronco project one night with the motor sitting on the front end. And it basically, if you didn't know what a Bronco 2 was or how it's made structure-wise, you would assume, the ordinary person would assume that I was just running a Bronco 2 with no bumper, fenders, grill, hood, and all like that. And a part of me, I didn't want to do that because it would just look like a Bronco 2 with no front panels on it. So I was like, you know what? I have 5 feet of rails, so why not just kick out the front end more, have the motor sit before the front wheels, and then the radiator can go between the wheels. So that's what I did. I took all my measurements and I made that happen. I worked a lot on the front rails, getting the measurements right. I made sure everything was even. I had everything up on jack stands, made sure everything was level. If I did one little thing, I measured 5 times. If I did another little thing, I measured 5 times. I made sure everything was okay. Yeah, so I hope everybody enjoys this build so far. I don't think I'm gonna do anything to it today. One thing I gotta do is the steering box is hitting the one rail, so I have to cut more metal out, and then I gotta box everything up where the front end bolts to it. So still a little bit of work, but shortly I'm gonna be putting the body on it, and I gotta make engine mounts and stuff like that. So it's gonna be pretty fun. Pretty fun. There's gonna be a lot of good videos coming up. Yeah, so far so good. This is actually happening, and I'm thrilled. I can't wait until the body's on it, because then I can either roll it in this garage or roll it in my carport and put my car in here, because I don't want it to rust anymore. That being said, I haven't showed the condition of the Bronco body or what it's looked like for a while, specifically regarding YouTube videos and what I've been posting on Facebook. So I will show you guys the body that is basically going to be most of what this rat rod's going to be. So let's see it. Awesome. Yeah, there she is. A little bit of rust here. Just more air conditioning. I still have to take the brake booster off. But yeah, so this is the same Bronco that you've seen in most of my pictures. Here's when I was talking about the fender, the front fender, this is what I cut from the fender, so it would cover up the ugly firewall. I'll probably end up just tack welding that there. Luckily, all the clear coating and painting I did, it saved the majority of this body. There's still some rust, but it's not too bad. I tried to paint everything I could, but majority of it is just surface rust. Because this truck didn't really have too much rust. It's all from the water and all when it was put out in the fire. But yeah, all that was clear coated. Everything was painted. These are the seats. They're clear coated, so they have a patina on them, but they're not going to hell. This is the center console from I don't know what it's from, but my dad got it for me. I might use it. I don't know, but it's got like everything in it. That thing opens up. It's got the shifter, 2 cup holders there, 2 cup holders back there. So yeah, the door will open, but I kind of have a bunch of shit here, so I can't really open it. But as you can see, there is some rust up here. This is all this was clear coated, but because of the inside rusting, there's nothing I could do about it. It is open here because this is where me and my brother hacked the back roof off of it. So yeah, it's basically a small pickup. It's not that big. It's a very small vehicle. Here's the back of it. Everything's pretty much good. You can see the original paint versus just clear coated metal. Yeah, I'm excited about this. Trying to think of other stuff I did. I painted the floors and all. I tried to just take care of everything. Even the headliner, I'd clear coated the headliner and all. So yeah, that is the Bronco body. And so far it's pretty good. So yeah, I have a lot of parts from the 79 LeBaron. This is all wiring. I have basically I divided it in the parts of the harnesses from the car. So you have your rear bumper, which is tail lights to midway, which is right behind the front seats. Then it connects to all the way, everything in the dash to the firewall. Then it connects from the firewall all the way to the front lights, the indicators and headlights. So I have all these harnesses, everything is labeled. What's that say? To tranny. So yeah, everything should go together easily when I put it in the Bronco. Just random stuff I threw in that one. I have majority of the stuff in here. I have a cross member that I took from the Bronco chassis. I also have another cross member which I took from the chassis. That's for the transmission mount, which I'll probably use that here. I actually have the mounts for it there, so what I'll do is I'll probably just take those rivets out, put it to where I need it for the LeBaron transmission, and I'll be good there. I know I just made it sound easy, but I don't see how I can fuck that up. It's there, and then I just put it where I need it, and then it's connecting it. So yeah, there's that. Steering column, a bunch of stuff. The pedals, I kept everything. The pedal mechanism, yeah, so I have all that. Everything that I'm going to need, I have saved, basically.